Is investing in commercial property a good idea? We're going to answer that question in this video. Okay, let's rock. That's a great question because if you've ever heard the saying, the easiest way to make and become a millionaire is in real estate. It's the truest thing in the world. Probably 9 out of 10 millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires made their fortune in real estate. So listen up. It's really important to understand how important this is for your future, your retirement, or whatever. So most people generally view real estate with their house. They say, well, I'm gonna buy a house after I've been renting out an apartment for years and hopefully over the course of 15 or 30 years pay it off, and then I'll have a bunch of money and I won't owe anything on my house, and my house will go up in value, so I'll be worth a lot of money. Well, if you follow that plan, that's probably gonna happen and you're gonna get super old and yep, when you're like 70 years old or whatever it is, you're gonna have a paid off house, and that's great. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but here's something you gotta understand, because remember, our focus is business, right? So we're trying to set up our own business and we're trying to do it the right way and we're trying to maximize as much money as we can make. So I'm gonna take you down this little storyline so you can understand how much more money you can make in your life by getting into commercial property. Now, whether it's a good idea or not kind of depends on the timing. If you're super young and you don't have a ton of money saved up and a ton of credit, it's not super easy to just go buy a piece of commercial property. And the reason is commercial loans in general are kind of like the Wild West. And what I mean by that is they don't go your traditional residential loans, like the Fannie Mae loans, the government backed loans that are like, every American deserves to try to own their own home. So if they make enough money and they've got income for long enough, they can qualify for like a government backed type of loan. Commercial's not like that. With commercial real estate, banks generally look at your financials. They look at your businesses, the income off your businesses, your net worth, your cash flow, things like that. So it's not super easy if you're young. And when I mean young, maybe in your 20s or whatever, unless you got a trust fund or you've saved up a lot of money and you've got a lot of collateral, usually it's not easy to get into it. However, there is a trick, there's a hack, if you will, that you need to consider and look into. And it's what I did personally, so I'm able to share it. There's an SBA loan. The SBA, the Small Business Administration, actually gives owner-operators financing under certain conditions. You need to look into this. And the reason I say that is instead of needing to put down like 20%, 25 or even 30%, sometimes even more. Some banks ask for more. I remember one time I went to a bank, they wanted 50% down on a commercial loan and the building was like $1 million. I mean, how the heck was I gonna come up with $500,000 in cash right at that time of my life? There was no way. And I get you, I feel you. So I want you to follow this, the way this kind of works out. If you end up starting your own small business, you're gonna hopefully start out small and not overextend yourself. And you're gonna work hard every single day, as much as you can, to put in as many hours as you can to get ahead of the pack, get ahead of the competition, and build yourself a good business, right? One that generates good money, and you're gonna start saving it. Well, maybe your game plan should be, let's say you've got a business that's in a shopping center, and you're spending $2,000 or $3,000 a month in rent. And it's just like basically renting an apartment, right? That's what you're doing. You're just leasing the property. That's what it comes down to. Well, if you're leasing the property for eternity, the landlord's got control over you in multiple aspects. They can raise your rent, right? Heck, they could kick you out. If they don't want you there anymore for whatever reason, maybe they felt you were too much of a pain, you complained too much, or maybe they just found a better tenant, a stronger tenant with better financials that they feel more comfortable with, so that when they go refinance their building, they've got maybe like a national tenant or something like that in your space. Well, that's not good for you. So the reason I like commercial property, especially for my own business, and I've done this multiple times, not just one, you want to have the ability to control your own real estate. In a sense, control your own destiny for your business. Maybe you don't ever want to leave. You find a really good location in a good part of town, you're established, all the locals come to your business. Why the heck would you want to move? You're settled. It's expensive to set up. It's expensive to move, right? So in this particular case, that might be worthy, especially if you can qualify for like an SBA loan, which in my case, I had to put down 10%, and it was still a lot of money. But again, remember, you're saving, you're investing, you're working hard, you're being smart with your money. Put that money aside for your business, for your building. And the best example to compare it to, and I highly recommend reading the book on Ray Kroc's life story or watching the documentary. Ray Kroc was basically the McDonald's guy, right? He took the concept of burger and fries and he said, you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy all this real estate for all these McDonald's, all these burger places called McDonald's, right? And what did Ray Kroc really get in the business of? Was he in the burger and fries business? Ask yourself that. Really ask yourself, was he selling burgers and fries? Well, yeah, obviously he was selling burgers and fries, but he had an ulterior motive. He was smart. What he decided to do was buy hundreds and eventually thousands of pieces of the most prime real estate in the United States, and I don't know if it worldwide, if they own all of it, but I think they own some of it. In the United States, they bought some of the most prime real estate, and they paid off those buildings and those properties and that land by the sale of burgers and fries. So they got to double dip. Let's talk about double dipping. It's a very positive term if you can accomplish this in business. You want to be able to do this. So on the one side, let's talk about McDonald's. They were able to make money with McDonald's Corporation, right? So every location, for the most part, every location made money. So they scaled it. 10 locations, 100 locations, 1,000 locations, and however many they got. I mean, everybody's lost count. So that business alone made tons of money. But what's even better for McDonald's Corporation was they bought these buildings, and instead of paying some landlord and making a landlord rich in every single McDonald's location, they got smart. They said, why don't we be our own landlord? If we're going to be at these locations, if we're going to sign a 10-year lease, a 15, 20-year lease, which is what they would do typically, because they're going to build it to be a McDonald's. They're not going to leave in 3 years. They want to be there for 10 or 20 years minimum, right? Well, that's all the time you need to pay off the property. So rather than pay some landlord to make that landlord rich and pay off their property, they paid off their own. And so in addition to paying it off and virtually not having, I mean, if they didn't want to, they didn't have to really pay rent. I mean, they would have to pay the property taxes and the insurance and the maintenance on their properties, but that's nothing compared to having to pay for the amount you'd pay for the mortgage payment for each location. Once they paid it off, they owned the land, they controlled the land, and even better, they could use it as collateral for expansion, for their net worth, for their company, and the properties, all like all real estate over time, went up in price. They didn't do anything. McDonald's Corporation didn't do anything, and their property, as time goes, just continued to appreciate. So maybe they bought something 50 years ago in some random city in Nebraska or some random city in Oklahoma, and they bought this land for next to nothing. They paid it off in 10 or 15 or 20 years selling burgers and fries, and then they own the piece, right? They control it, and then the value of that property went up significantly. It's like so incredible. So that's what I mean when I say double dipping, is you're basically able to make money in two different spots, hence the double word. So you make money on the burgers and fries, you make money on the real estate. So if you can buy your commercial property, it's a great idea if you can figure it out. Now, that's considering a lot of factors. That's considering you're going to stay in business, right? McDonald's stayed in business, so it was great for them. You can't say buy a property thinking, oh, I'm going to retire, or, in 2 years or whatever. So that's one thing. Then there's some people that are just investors, and they say, well, I want to buy a piece of commercial property, and I want to actually rent it out to somebody else. And that's okay, but again, that's the Wild West, because you've got to be able, if that's going to happen, to sustain the possibility of no rent. If your building's not paid off, if your commercial property is not paid off, and the bank is charging you, a mortgage payment every single month, you have to have enough resources and enough money, enough credit to be able to continue to make that payment regardless. Because remember what I told you in the last video, one of the last videos, the bank doesn't want to hear your excuses. So if you put somebody in and they're there for like 2 years and you did like a 10-year note or whatever, and they leave or they stop paying your rent, the bank doesn't care what you've got to say. They just want their money. You just got to pay them their note. And you still got to pay for the insurance, and you still got to pay the property taxes, and you still got to pay for the maintenance and anything else like that could come up. And if that comes up, that's out of your pocket. So make sure before you make the transition, I like to feel like I'm comfortable. Like not only did I have enough savings to put down the down payment, but then I've got a nice reserve to, if the parking lot starts cracking, I can call a pavement company to come in and fill the cracks and seal it and do that. And if I have roof repairs, I have money to repair the roofs. There's things like this that you have to budget when you buy commercial property because now you're the landlord. You pay for everything, right? So keep that in mind when you're doing it. But the short answer is investing into commercial property a good idea? It really depends on you, your business, your ability, your financial situation. There's a lot of factors, but overall, if you're into business, you're involved, let's say you're one of those people that's had your business for years already, I would start looking for some piece of commercial property and do what Ray Kroc did with McDonald's and using your business to pay the building off so you can build some serious net worth by paying your building off. So hey, maybe depending on the property you buy, maybe I just made you a millionaire over time, right? Might take 10 or 15 years, but maybe that's all you needed to hear to become a self-made millionaire through your business. So anyway, I hope this has been very helpful. Everybody keep pushing hard, keep trying, keep pushing, and remember, be the hustler.